Good morning and welcome to Worldwide Wisdom. Today's Torah study is sponsored by our global community member, Sean from Old City Permits down in Hollywood, Florida. Thank you, Sean, for making it real, making Hollywood into holy wood, right? Wood cutters, right? Today's Torah portion, holy. Okay. Today's Torah portion is getting very, very, very exciting. It's very spiritual. We're on to portion of Nitsavim, where the foundation of the book of Tanya, the founding verse of the book of Tanya is located. Let's take a look at this. It's on page 1239 in the blue Kehat Chumash, where you'll see what the Torah has to say. It gets really down personal, down in detail. About our personal relationship with God. You know, you might think that it could be up high in the sky, but the Torah now gets very down, detailed, and granular. Let's see what the Torah has to tell us over here. This is Moses' final will and testament. Remember, the book of Deuteronomy was spoken by Moses, whereas the first 4 books were written by God. The 5th book was spoken by Moses, and God's was speaking through his throat. Right? Moses was a perfect conduit to the voice of God. So even though it was spoken by Moses in first person, it's actually the voice of God, which is why it's still the 5th book of the Torah. It's called Mishnah Torah, which is the second to the Torah, because the first 4 books were written and the 5th book was spoken. Here goes. So on page 1239, this is the 6th aliyah. It says like this: you may think, recalling that the true setting for studying the Torah and performing God's commandments is in the land of Israel. You might therefore think that it is impossible to truly learn and understand the Torah while in the diaspora, while in exile. This, however, is not the case, for this commandment to study the entire Torah, about which I'm commanding you today, is not only not unreachably remote from you, no matter where you are. That was a double negative. You got the double negative? Is not only not, it's a triple negative. It's not only not unreachably, oh my gosh. It's not remote from you. I'm sorry, that was a triple negative. That didn't make sense to me. So it's not unreachably remote from you, no matter where you are. It is not even so far away that you have to go elsewhere to learn it. Wherever you are is where you can study Torah, folks. You could be living even in Mirasol. Can you imagine that, Jack? Even in Mirasol. Nick, you joining us? You gonna come join? Come. Even in Mirasol, even in Palm Beach, Florida.
What about Ballin Isles? Like that.
Ballin Isles is already a bastion of Torah. It's a lighthouse of Torah already. You know what's going on in Ballin Isles? So wherever you are is where you're able to study the Torah. Remember when Moses approaches the burning bush? Remember the story? He hears the burning bush, he sees the burning bush, and he wants to approach it, and God says, take your shoes off. Stay where you are. The place where you are is Admat Kodesh, is earth of holiness. Now that's a paradox. Earth of holiness. Earth? Since when is earth holy? Heaven is holy. Right? Earth? Admat Kodesh? It's a paradox. The earth upon which you stand is holy. What was the message? The first words that God says to Moses in his interview, in his job interview, right? He says, stay where you are, don't move, don't come here, stay there. Because where you are is holy. In other words, if you're in Florida, if you're in Venezuela, if you're in South Africa, wherever you are, right there, that's where I want you to be. Study Torah right there. It's a very powerful message. Well, first, if I'm going to study Torah, then first I have to go to yeshiva for 18 years. Then I've got to keep kosher and every commandment. And when I'm a rabbi, that's when I'm going to be able to study Torah. What are you talking about? I can't Chinese. Start right here, right now. Open up your YouTube and study Torah. You go to the dentist. Okay, on the way to the dentist, turn on the Spotify while you're sitting in the dentist chair. You turn on the Spotify. You can study Torah. Finished. Wherever you are. You don't have to go to yeshiva in Jerusalem. You could do it right here. Next. In other words, if the vagrancy of exile leads you exceedingly far from the land of Israel to countries located at the end of heaven. Now, what does it mean at the end of heaven? It's a little bit of an exaggeration. You know, sometimes there are exaggerations in Torah. Right? Sometimes there are exaggerations in Torah. For example, the one exaggeration which I can think of in Torah is when the spies came back from the land of Israel and they described the land, Arim Gedolot V'Tzurot Bashomayim, cities which were large and fortified up to the heavens. So that's how they described the cities that were fortified up to the heavens. So Rashi points out that these words were spoken in a way of or said or written in a way of exaggeration. But here it says, it's a reference to the heavens. You should not think that the Torah is accessible only in your homeland, which is located at the other end of heaven, that you should say, who will go up to heaven for us and fetch it for us to expound it to us so that we can fulfill it. The reference here to heaven is not just an exaggeration. It's referring to the last week's Torah portion, which said amongst the curses of the portion of Kisaveh, the 98 curses, it says, if your exiles shall be at the ends of the heaven. And there it was referring to the ends of the heaven. There it was referring to the diaspora. So if your exiles will be sent to the ends of the earth, like to New Zealand, can you imagine, or to the Falkland Islands off of Argentina, right? At the ends of the earth, right? So there was a reference to the ends of the heavens, and therefore in that context, when it says who will go up to heaven for us to receive the Torah, is referring to the land of Israel. And that's what the verse here is negating, where it's saying you don't have to go to the land of Israel in order to study Torah. In fact, there's a beautiful story of a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek, the third rabbi, who came to visit the Tzemach Tzedek in Lubavitch in White Russia. And he said to him he would like to go up to the land of Israel to make Aliyah. Now, is this a value of Jewish people to make Aliyah? I'm curious to know what you think. Is it a value? Sphinx doesn't trust dentists. Okay, sorry about that. Didn't mean to insult you. Is it a value for us to make Aliyah, to go to Israel? What do you think? You say yes?
Sure.
Yeah? Anybody else? Jack, you say yes?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's the nexus of
The nexus.
who we are. If I may just say also that, I am the most naive person of anybody at this table.
Oh, no.
But I believe that studying Torah and worshiping God is connecting the writings into our godly soul. So it's always inside of us. I don't ever think about reaching out to God. I think about reaching out to God.
You're saying he's already there. The question is if you're there. That's beautiful. I love that. I don't think he's the most naive around this table at all. Anyways,
We say next year in Jerusalem.
we say next year in Jerusalem. So, Andy, why do you say it's a value to make Aliyah to Israel?
Because we're connected to the land that God gave to our people. If we're part of the Jews, that is God-given.
I would say that's Mecca, but you don't.
Look, I want to say to you, I think that this verse is saying that you don't need to live in the land of Israel.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Okay, I think that
That's
this
true.
verse is saying that. And let's look at what the Tzemach Tzedek answered this chassid. He said to him, you don't need to go to Israel because your job is to machdar Eretz Israel, to make here the Holy Land. To make here the Holy Land. There's a member of our community who wants to make Aliyah to Israel. And on her own, she admitted to the Rebbitzin, she said that if she were to go to, she could go to Israel, and it's a beautiful thing, but she could never leave this community because how meaningful it is to her. What's interesting is that if such a person were here surrounded by so much love and framework and structure and Jewish observance and Jewish life, to go to Israel, she'd be all by herself. She'd be lost. And it's sad, it's unfortunate how it's possible for such a person to just be completely
Isolated.
isolated, like a ship without an anchor, and to just lose the plot. And I've seen that happen to certain people that have moved from Johannesburg, let's say, to Israel, and they were observant in Johannesburg, but they came to Israel and they lost it because they just didn't have that support. They just didn't have that sense of community. And in fact, in Israel, they were very surprised to learn that not everybody's observant.
That surprised me.
Right?
I've been
Yeah.
there, that it's more secular than I.
It's
could
quite
imagine.
secular.
Surprised?
So they surrounded themselves into a culture.
Yeah, secular.
They surrounded themselves in a culture of where people were not observant, and very quickly, like, I'm going to be the only one keeping Shabbos, keeping kosher,
I
not.
said, we don't have to do that.
Right.
because everybody's doing
So it's just interesting, and I want to say that as Chabadniks, our mission by the Rebbe is maybe at the end of the day we have to go to Israel, but the job of every Chabad rabbi, is to turn off the lights at the airport when the last Jew boards the plane to Israel. Right? In other words, we're ambassadors, we're embassies of Israel. Right? Our job is to bring the holiness of the land of Israel here. It's no big deal to bring the holiness of the land of Israel to the land of Israel. That's like lighting a candle in the middle of the day. Doesn't really make a difference. To bring holiness to the land of holiness. But to bring holiness to the land of Palm Beach, right? Palm Beach might not be the land flowing with milk and honey, but it's a land flowing with sand and money.
it.
Right?
And money.
And if you could bring the Holy Land to
Yeah, what's
to
an
here,
ulterior motive?
if you could bring holiness to the United States, to the diaspora, now that's a big deal. That's like lighting a candle in the nighttime. And that's an achievement. That's what you're needed for. Let's keep it going. And even if you settle somewhere closer to the land of Israel, from which the land of Israel is accessible by sea, you should not even think that the Torah is beyond the sea, that you should say who will cross over to the other side of the sea for us and fetch it for us, to expand it to us so that we can fulfill it. Right? What essentially it's saying over here is that not only the Jews that are living in the diaspora and the geographical diaspora, but even the Jews who are in the psychological diaspora, even the Jews that are far out, distant, removed from where they should be spiritually speaking, those Jews who are spiritually exiled, spiritually isolated, don't think that you need to go somewhere else in order to turn it around. Just like Jack said, it's already within you. The holiness is already there. The question is, where do you draw attention? You know, there's that beautiful story. It's a metaphor of the two wolves inside of you. I think it's like an Indian metaphor, that there's two wolves inside of you. One is selfish and one is good, one is bad,
One is evil and one is good.
One is evil, one is good. It's an Indian metaphor which ties perfectly into Tanya. And it says that you have these two wolves inside of you, the good wolf and the bad wolves. And the listener asked, so which one is stronger? And the answer was given,
The animal.
the one that you feed.
Yes.
The one that you feed. In other words, if you feed the good wolf, it'll be stronger. You feed the bad wolf, it'll be stronger. This is an amazing concept about energy. We don't really focus so much on energy these days. You know, energy is not yet something that science is able to, to capture. You know, an electrician just walked in, he's about to start a project, but he works with electrical energy. But imagine if there's emotional energy. Imagine if we had a field of being able to identify people that have dark energy and positive energy, and people that lift us up and bring us down. Can you imagine if you had that in your dating resume profile, right? What kind of energy score you have, right? So when it comes to energy, there's something amazing that where we focus our attention, we feed energy, and where we divert our attention, there's no energy. You know, the best way to kill something is by atrophy, by just not giving it any attention. And then it just dies by itself, right? So if you focus on your problem, you obsess on your problem, you obsess on your anxieties, then they become real. But if you divert your attention and you focus only on the good, then the energy flows into the good. So inside of yourself, there's already godliness, there's already holiness. The question is, how much attention have you been given that holiness, the presence of God within yourself? If the answer is nothing, then it's like benign. But if you've entirely focused your attention on your problems, on your foreskin, on the foreskin of your heart, which covers over the God within you, if you're so focused with the storefront, with the facade, with the cover up, with the alibi, with the mask, with the masquerade, then then you're not going to see what lies beneath. You're not going to see the essence. If you're obsessing over the superficial covering and not the essential within, then what's going to be real is the superficial within you. But if you want to be able to identify, to reorient yourself to the godliness within you, all you need to do is just shift gear, focus on Hashem within you, focus on your core, your essence, your truth. And that's how you won't need to travel to the land of Israel. You won't need to swim across the ocean. You won't need to do anything outrageous. You'll be able to just discover the godliness that's already present within you. Go ahead.
It sometimes feels to me as though trying to find our soul, we're so close to it. It's like trying to see the inside of our eyeballs. You know, it's
what a beautiful metaphor. To try to find your soul is to try to find the inside of your eyeballs. It's not something which you can see it, but you can only perceive it. Wow, that's a very beautiful analogy. What a meditation. It's so essential to who you are. It's like biting your teeth. It's like seeing your eyeballs. You can't do that because it's so core. It's so you. That's very, very thoughtful.
It's the essence of who we are.
Wow, it's beautiful. Marty.
What I was going to say is, good, it's ain't good. You know, it's good and it will be good.
When it comes to overcoming anxieties.
Right, absolutely. I mean, that's a fundamental way of dealing with it.
Right, channeling your attention,
Absolutely.
channeling your energies. Beautiful. Andy?
By that logic, why do we lose lives and fight for the land of Israel?
By that logic. Now, bear in mind, I'm not diminishing our commitment to the land of Israel. Okay? Certainly it is the heart of the people, right? But not everybody needs to be in the heart. We need arms and legs as well, right? We need ambassadors, we need embassies. Every Jew needs to see themselves as an ambassador, but if you think of yourself as benign and useless because you're living in Argentina, then that's not a good thing. What the Torah is saying is, I need you wherever you are to be an ambassador. And if you think of yourself as an extension of the Holy Land, wherever you are, and a representative of the nation of Israel, of the God of Israel, of the Torah of Israel, then certainly. So yeah, go ahead.
Is that why Hashem called the Jewish people to be a light to the nations?
Yeah, I think it's all certainly connected.
Aren't you an ambassador of God?
Yeah.
And so,
Well, that's like.
but so why isn't that who you are, as opposed to an ambassador of a piece of property?
Well, it's not.
The heritage and history.
So
of
bear in
the
mind,
Jews.
the land of Israel is an inseparable part of the triad. Triad is the three,
Three of them
right?
in school, yep.
The three. So the triad is the God of Israel. Well, it's really the God of Israel, the Torah of Israel, and the people of Israel are the three. So it says in the Zohar, God of Israel, people of Israel, and the Torah of Israel, inseparable. Now, the land of Israel is the heart of it all. This is the promised land. It's not just a piece of real estate. This is where God has chosen to manifest his presence in this world with the people of Israel through the Torah of Israel. So this is the ground zero. This is where it's at. And a rejection of the land of Israel is not just a rejection of a political boundary. A rejection of the land of Israel is essentially a rejection of God. When people march around pro-Hamas, when they say from the river to the sea, and they promote Palestine, they're not just marching for Hamas, which is insane. Rapists, beheaders, and murderers, right? They're actually marching against the Jewish people. Right? And then when they're marching against the Jewish people, they're marching against the God of Israel. The Torah of Israel. It's a rejection of the Bible. This is why a lot of I'm trying to think how controversial this is going to be.
It's okay. It will be
Evangelical.
okay.
No, I think this is the reason why a lot of the LGBTQ people are pro-Hamas, even though their values don't align with
Isn't that
Hamas.
crazy? They
Because
would kill
Hamas
them
wants
if
to
they
kill
were-
them. Hamas wants to kill them. But why are they aligned? It doesn't make any sense, right? Why are they aligned with Hamas? The reason is, the queers for Palestine. The reason is because both of them, Hamas has their own reason for fighting against Israel, but this is more of a ideological, political, national, maybe real estate thing. But for the queers for Palestine, that group, it's a rejection of God, because they feel like somehow the Bible
God is
doesn't make space for them, doesn't hold space for them.
But Hamas
Therefore, they
doesn't
need
make-
to undo the promise of the Bible. They by rejecting the promise of the land, they therefore are endorsing their own identity as queers.
But Hamas or anyone there wants to kill them.
Right. So that doesn't matter so much.
Not
Yeah, but that
logical. It's
doesn't
about
explain.
intersectionality of
That
race.
doesn't-
What do you call it? Intersectionality.
Intersectionality.
Intersectionality. It's the crossing of different mindsets, ideologies, and groups who share a common hatred. Go ahead.
But that doesn't explain why people who are born Jewish or raised Jewish will do the same thing, because
Reject Israel.
there is no rejection. It just as an aside.
I think I would agree. I would tell you why there isn't. But go ahead, Dave. I want you to finish.
Just as an aside, in last night's Emmy presentations,
Oy.
awards for television,
Always a reason to vomit. But go ahead. Yeah.
in 3 hours of the presentation,
How many times?
there was only one person, who said "Free Palestine"
Oh, just
at
one.
the end of their speech. And who was it? Hannah Einbinder.
Jewish.
Really?
Jewish,
girl,
raised
comedian.
Jewish mother, Jewish father, raised Jewish,
Oh, really?
and she's the only
I
one.
liked her. Now I don't like her.
Hannah Einbinder.
Okay,
her
so
mother,
what?
mother is
so Rob,
Lorraine Newman.
So Rob,
From
I want
Southern
to propose an answer to this. I want to
No.
suggest an answer. Okay. I think that the reason why Jews would do that is for exactly the same reason. I'll tell you why. Because and it's not necessarily young Jews. It's Jews who feel less than. Why do they feel less than?
But
Because
she's
they
gay.
know
So they feel what?
they feel less than.
Oh,
That may be part. She's also.
Oh, she's gay. Okay, look, I don't want to.
No, but
That's interesting. Well, that would align with
Yeah,
what I
like
just
what
said.
you just
But
said,
but I want to go just one step further. Why is it that there are Jews who reject the land of Israel? Because they feel that they don't match up to the standards of Torah.
Mhm.
So they feel like they're not good Jews. And they're right, because they're not living up to the standards that God expects from the Jewish people.
So are they heretics?
Are they heretics? Okay, so let me just build this up a second because I got some raised eyebrows here. Just one second. Let me explain. Now I know Chabad doesn't talk about bad Jews. Fair enough, right? We don't talk about bad Jews. However, do they feel that they're not fulfilling? Do they feel less acceptable? Do they feel like they're being they know that they're accountable to God, and they know they're doing a very bad job at it. This is what I'm trying to say, right? So because they're doing a very bad job at it, so what do? How do they quell the feelings of guilty conscience within them? So what they could do is they could just reject the Torah. By rejecting the Torah entirely, right? By saying that we don't believe in the Bible, we don't believe in the promised land. You know what? And I might be wrong. Andy, I might be wrong. I'm just suggesting an idea, right?
No.
But I'm open to hearing what you have to say, as I always am. I just want to develop this idea. So why is it that you have a Jew like someone who why is it that a Jew would say free Palestine like she did? Maybe it's because she's got a chip on her shoulder and she doesn't like God. Because maybe her boyfriend is not acceptable, or her girlfriend is not acceptable according to the Torah, and maybe maybe she feels like she can't live up to whatever standards that the Torah demands from her, and therefore she wants to say, no, it's not the promised land, that's not the Holy Land, and the Jews are not special, and the Jews are not chosen, and we're just ordinary, and I'm trying to live a good life, a normal life, and I can't get over my guilty conscience. And a Jew will never be able to get over the guilty conscience because, like Jack said, it's who you are, it's your eyeball. It's who you are. You can't ever run away from your identity, right? When a lion thinks that he's a meerkat or a pig, right? When Simba the lion thinks that he's eating bugs and insects in the forest, and he thinks that life is good, and now Hakuna Matata, he's got no worries, right? It's gonna come and bite you in the tuchus one day, right? One day it's gonna come and you're gonna come and realize, like, I've been rejecting who I am, and I've been rejecting those who came before me and my destiny. And one day, ultimately, he's going to come back and conquer the kingdom.
Right.
Why do you think? Yeah.
I don't agree with you.
Okay, neither does Andy. Go ahead. Tell me why.
Because I know Jews, friends, and even casual acquaintances who, in a discussion, will rebuke Israel and what the Jews are doing and so forth. But I none of them can I ascribe some lofty intellectual thought process.
You think it is
around-
way too
let me
sophisticated?
finish.
Yeah.
Whether my how Jewish am I or whatever, it's all as best I can see. They all have this humanitarian concern that what's going on.
So you're saying that Jewish values are just lacking?
No, I'm just saying these
Super
people aren't
liberal.
even thinking about Jewish values. All they're thinking about is,
They have the wrong
60,000
premises.
60,000 people are dead, people are starving.
So you're saying there's
How bad is
social-
that?
That's a drive.
Jew- and
Social
they-
justice is their values, not Torah.
Right, and they say, Jew or not, we
Living
can't
the
be,
American
the injustice that we're causing through starvation, murdering, killing children, so forth.
So it's
and
like
so on.
Toby says, they're more
The
Jew,
thought
they're more
of-
American than Jewish.
The thought of where I am in the
is what it
Jewish
is.
spectrum, I don't think is even ever approaches their mind.
He said-
It's all social value, not culture. It's not cultural.
No religious value.
Not religious
That's not-
value. It's all social value.
Do you think those people believe in God?
I think in a very casual way, they believe in God.
Interesting. What do you say, Andy?
Foxhole prayers.
I think they have the wrong
Yeah,
premises
right.
because the bottom line is that Qatar and their friends have managed to destroy our mindset. So we've been taught badly throughout the world.
Yeah.
Look at the United
has been
Nations. That's the
spread.
same
So
thing.
number one, they start with the wrong premises, and this is where you're talking about it. The other one is, I think you're overthinking it. I think most of them think that this stuff is so
Archaic.
last century, last millennium. Who
The
cares?
Torah, the
world
Bible,
has
no
moved
longer
on.
relevant.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
Okay, so that's the line with what
Yeah.
Chuck is saying.
Well-
You're saying that it's just like the Torah doesn't
Well,
count to them.
What Chuck is saying is really relevant. now
Social
because
justice,
There has been a lot of bad stuff that's been filling the minds of people
Brainwashing,
and
propaganda.
governments throughout the world. And this is
Okay,
why you
so
have-
Andy, I want to say this. I want to tie it
Christians
together. Andy, I want to say it together. Andy, I appreciate the criticism and I
That's not-
accept it.
I didn't mean
No,
that.
I accept it. But I want to say this. I don't think that it's mutually exclusive. I think you're all correct. Okay, and I also think that what I'm saying is correct. I'll tell you why.
You're right.
Because I think that you are correct on a very practical level. On a practical level, yes, and maybe I am overthinking on a practical level, where there's the social justice and this their values are far more democratic values. I don't mean the party, I mean like
Liberal.
democracy,
Right.
liberal,
Liberal
than their values are religious. Now, why is it that the Jews are far more critical of their own people than other groups? Why is it that you won't find blacks marching in the anti-Black Lives movement, right? If there's such a movement, you won't find Muslims that are marching, criticizing the Muslims. Very, very, very unusual. But you'll find many Jews that are marching against Israel. So I would say that the reason is because of a far deeper, unsettling feeling that the Jew has within his heart, where on a far deeper level, and maybe an overthinking level, but it's much deeper, that at the core, the Jew is essentially unsettled because he has a soul, and that soul will give him no rest. That soul just gives him no rest, and he wants to just shut it up. He wants to suffocate it because it's giving him just only anxiety and no peace. And by fighting it, it's one way to anesthetize it. Right? Because remember, you're diverting the attention away from it. Ultimately, that soul is a piece of God. It can never die. And that's why you'll find that the Jew always, sooner or later, will find his way back home. No matter where you roam, a Jew will always come back home. Sometimes it's a generation later, sometimes it's 2 or 3 generations later. But the Jews always make their way home. It's a biblical promise, whether it's a personal crisis, whether it's a national crisis, whether it's a charismatic rabbi that they encounter, or some dream or something. There's always a story about how the Jew finds his way home.
In the next life, in the reading.
Sometimes this life, sometimes next life. But there's always a story then. And it's sad to see when people, it's such a tragedy for myself as a rabbi to see when someone dies and they insist on being cremated. Right? Insisting on being cremated because they don't care about the Jewish belief in life after death and the value of the body. It's just, they just look at it, it's all over, I have no belief. And now they're taking those convictions to the grave. They're taking those convictions to the grave. It's very sad, but we can only hope and pray that somehow it's going to spill over and continue in the next generation.
What's really funny is these are the people who are concerned with polluting the air with
Carcinogens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Green burial is the most healthy.
You said something for energy.
You said if you ignore stress, you think good, then the stress goes away. So in the world of behavior management, we call that extinction. If you ignore something, behavior becomes extinct. But what you just said about them not considering their soul, if you ignore your soul and the stress it gives you, if you ignore it, the soul never becomes extinct. It still stays and it's still.
This is a unique. The soul is unique because it's infinite. Because you can't kill it. You can't snuff it out.
Right.
What you can do is you can what's the word? You can inebriate it. You can anesthetize it, right? Where you can drug it. That's the word I'm looking for. You can drug it up, but then it's going to come back. And you know how the soul manifests? When the body is not healthy, you get sick. When the soul is not healthy, you feel empty. And that's when people tell me, Rabbi, I need more. There's got to be more to life than my golf. There's got to be more to life than this political. I had somebody at my Shabbos table recently, and they were talking about somebody was talking about health issues, and somebody else was talking about politics. And he said, look, I can't do this over here. I came here to the rabbi's house to have more. All week long, my friends are talking about health and politics. There's got to be more. Give me some Torah, give me something, right? So friends, you cannot stamp out that feeling of your soul within you. The soul is there, and that's what a Chabad rabbi always knows. And a Chabadnik needs to know that every single Jew that you encounter has a piece of God burning within them. They'll try to cover it up, but they can't. And that's why
the flame is always burning.
Sooner or later, it's gonna come out firing like a volcano eruption, right? So don't ever give up on a fellow Jew. Wherever they are, they're already holy. They just might not realize that you got to get out of your own way. Yeah.
I believe that the soul is where peace. I believe that the soul is where peace and joy lives, and I think our journey is to find it.
Yeah, of course. Peace is only accessible through the soul, because everything else is just a distraction. Now, for Gentiles, I think Gentiles have a much easier time with finding peace and serenity than Jews do, because a Jew is a different kind of soul with a far greater mission, for a different mission. So when for a Gentile to fulfill their mission in this world is much easier than it is for a Jew.
But they go to a better place.
Yeah, it's much easier to be a righteous Gentile than to be a righteous Jew. And that's why for a Gentile, it's easier to find peace. It's the Jew that's restless. And that's why I believe that the Jews were always the leaders of the revolutions. They were always the leaders of the counterculture movements. You know, the Vietnam movement. Who do you think was at the leadership of that? Who was at the leadership of the flower power and the civil rights and all of these, freeing slaves, all of that? It's always the Jews that are at the lead because they're looking for something greater. They understand the status quo is never going to satisfy them. Friends, we're going to wrap it up over here with a fascinating discussion. Thank you very much. I'm going to end it here. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
I
Yeah.
expected to get one place.